Hello, again, it's Paul McKenna. It's the 17th of March 2011. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm still in Hachoiji in the western Tokyo metropolis, just giving a report about what it's been like for the past few days since the big earthquake and tsunami, and now the nuclear catastrophe. No, I don't want to be glib if it really does turn out to be terrible. However, at this point in time, it seems that, well, it's quite terrible. Like, there's going to be, at the very worst case scenario, according to the British Embassy and experts and scientists that they have assembled, and I generally trust scientists because scientists use evidence that other people can check. And I don't want to do a propaganda thing for science, but there's a lot of nonsense going around at the moment. Science is the best way we have to judge what is objective reality. Okay, that's all I'll say on that. So getting back to what it's been like since the earthquake happened. I made my last report on Friday. I'm quite tired now, and I'm not going to remember all the facts. I'm going to try and just go through them as I remember them. So Saturday, there was no work, and most of what I remember about the day is just watching in horror the pictures on television, which I'm sure you've seen. Just unbelievable, and I suppose just not really having a sense while I was experiencing the earthquake of really what the hell was going on in other places, and so that was a weird kind of a lost day. I think just everyone was in shock. The following day, I had work, and there were a few cancellations from students, but I did have most of my classes. There was one other colleague in, another colleague couldn't make it. Um, he was, I actually had a run in with him near the end of the day because I could hear him going off in every class about this nuclear thing. Now you have to remember that this was Sunday, and this was before there was an explosion, but it was an explosion in the outer casing and so on. So this was, at that stage, the thing was all quite uncertain. There was definitely a problem, but it was not the situation that we have currently, or maybe the situation that's whenever you're watching this. It was a different situation. Anyway, he was going on about just basically spending, it's an English class, and basically spending most of the time just going off on his own kind of paranoid visions of the worst case scenario. And most of his information was coming from, I don't really want to advertise them, but InfoWars, which is kind of a slightly nutty conspiracy theory slant, which I am, you may have gathered from my earlier remarks, I am a slight skeptic. So I just felt it was wrong of him to be. Well, first of all, students didn't come for. They came for an English lesson. They didn't come for this, and he was kind of spreading fear based on no evidence. So I got angry with him, and that's my outstanding memory of that day. There were tremors, but there've actually been so many tremors and shakes since then. Nothing like the big one, but they have been happening, and they're kind of seem almost mundane at this stage. I had one on the Sunday when I was talking to my father. Actually, there was one actually happened while I was talking to him on Skype. That was Sunday. Monday was my day off. what are my hmm. I suppose what can I say about just because I am actually tired and it is all a bit of a blur. Just kind of notable things is that people are kind of panic buying a bit. Um, eh, so I think the other day anyway when I went to the supermarket, it may have been yesterday, which would have made it Wednesday the 16th. Um, we couldn't get milk for a few days, but we heard, oh, there's milk in the supermarket, just go at 10. But when I arrived at 10 anyway, there was queues just going right outside the supermarket and around the court, like outside the supermarket and along the convenience store which is beside it and right around the corner, and I couldn't believe it. And I have some pictures of it, but I haven't really sorted them out. They're on my phone. I may redo this video and add those pictures. And I took some video of the supermarket. It's just crazy. There's just 10 past 10, and there was just lines up every aisle, and people um, just slight. Well, when I say panic buying, there's no riots. Like Japanese people are very orderly, um, and the shop was well prepared. They had, I don't know, eggs seemed to be a big thing. They had a guy sorting out the eggs and handing out the eggs and lines for the eggs. You couldn't get noodles for anything, which is, I'm not a big noodle eater. It sounds like a kind of a racist term. I just, just when I said it, it sounds like a racist term. I don't know if it is. Maybe it should be, or shouldn't be. Oh, whatever. It would be a good one if you went for racism. Anyway, so yes, or anything dry. There was nothing like that. Um, the I have been in work, as I said, there have been cancellations. Oh, the power outages. Yeah, there are power outages all around, and they are affecting train schedules. They definitely affected train schedules on Sunday and to a lesser extent on Monday. And train services, some train services are running, but it's like 75% or 50%. Um, there is a sense of people saving energy, and there are, like at my local train station, normally go out and there's a huge big screen and there's a big massive karaoke multi-floor thing, and you can see just all the lights in with stuff going on in that building. That one's just flashing and banging and noisy Japan stuff, and it just looks eerily quiet now. It's like the karaoke's not on. That's the one I really kind of fixate on, because when that's gone, it's kind of like, wow, you really notice it. The department store, big department store, is closed, and just a kind of an eerie, gloomy sense. But I suppose it kind of makes you think that, and I won't just blame Japan, but they spend an awful lot of energy just lighting up happy, flashy, meaningless. It's just I suppose it makes you realize how much energy we just piss away normally when there isn't a massive disaster on. The nuclear situation, uh, I have been watching that with differing levels of um, concern and not knowing. Well, I suppose not knowing where, like knowing the way the Japanese do things, and they do put a they can be vague, and they can put a positive slant on things, which don't always merit a positive slant. Um, but on the other hand, it's level-headed, which I like, and there's none of this panic bullshit. But anyway, the thing is that there's information coming on from everywhere. Now, I heard, and I don't know if this is true, but there was a headline in The Sun in Britain saying exodus from Tokyo. A lot of people are movement of Japan people. A lot of people are leaving Tokyo, but exodus is a slight exaggeration. But hey, it sells newspapers, and a nuclear cloud descending on Tokyo. Not really. Um, if you walked around my area, you would not have a clue that there was a hugely devastating earthquake just a few days ago. Like, you won't see any evidence of that, any broken buildings or something. I don't know. If you look hard, you might see cracks where they before. I don't know. You don't go around noticing cracks. If you're, I'm from, well, look around your own neighbourhood. I remember in Dublin, you'd sometimes see cracks. Some of the cracks, I'm sure, came from the earthquake. Um, you do notice the kind of the fact that, for example, walk past a convenience store and the kind of the bright flashy sign that they'd usually have, they've turned it off now. Um, and I suppose there's something in the air, a feeling of well, just it's just something in the air. Anyway, I do want to say on the nuclear situation that I posted something on Facebook today, which is a link to a guy in a local city, Hino, which is the neighbouring city to Hachoiji, where I am, and he's measuring radiation levels where he is. And currently, there was a bit of a peak, but yesterday, but it was still very low. And currently, the levels are lower than the average background radiation for the USA, and in fact, lower than the global average background radiation levels. So that's the situation currently as it is in Western Tokyo. There was also, I will read a Facebook page of a chap named Mr. Paul Atkinson, and he's reporting, he's got some information from the British Embassy. I've just returned from a conference call held at the British Embassy in Tokyo. The call was concerning the nuclear issue in Japan. The chief spokesman was Sir John Beddington, chief scientific advisor to the UK government, and he was joined by a number of qualified nuclear experts based in the UK. Their assessment of the current situation in Japan is as follows. In the case of a reasonable worst-case scenario defined as total meltdown of one reactor with subsequent radioactive explosion, an exclusion zone of 30 kilometres would be the maximum required to avoid affecting people's health. Even in a worse situation, loss of two or more reactors, it's unlikely that the damage would be significantly more than that caused by the loss of a single reactor. The current 20-kilometre exclusion zone is appropriate for the levels of radiation risk currently experienced, and if the pouring of seawater can be maintained to cool the reactors, the likelihood of a major incident should be avoided. A further large quake with tsunami could lead to the suspension of the current cooling operations, leading to the above scenario. The bottom line is that these experts do not see there being a possibility of a health problem for residents in Tokyo. The radiation levels would need to be hundreds of times higher than current to cause the possibility for health issues, and that, in their opinion, is not going to happen. They were talking minimum levels affecting pregnant women and children. For normal adults, the level would need to be much higher still. Well, the thing is, I'm posting this video now. That's the information as it is now. There are people evacuating Tokyo. I frankly don't have anywhere to go. We just moved here last year. We've set up here, and I've been moving around the last few years. I really don't want to move again. So, and it seems there's no cause to right now. However, I have been making precautions, trying to get just access to funds if we need to do it, and talking with my wife about where we would go or what we would do. I've also been checking plane tickets and availability and so on, and keeping in touch with the Irish Embassy. But currently it seems that there is no need to panic. Where I live is about 250 kilometres away, and I think I'm out of harm's reach for the time being. So for now, I will conclude this message and wish you again a happy St. Patrick's Day and Gambaro, Japan.